It's all good.
This morning we're talking to Scott Bradlee, the founder, the leader of Postmodern Jukebox. So, kia ora, Scott. Thanks very much for joining us today. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Steve. Thanks for having me too.
Glad to hear it. And where are you today?
We're coming live from the kitchen today. I'm at the studio. This is the place where we film all the Postmodern Jukebox videos. We call it PMJ Manor, and yeah, this is the home to many of the videos that we've done over the years.
Fantastic. So, where are you based at the moment? Are you still in New York?
This is Los Angeles.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And how are you keeping yourself busy at the moment? I mean, we're coming out of lockdown. Has it been a good lockdown for you? Have you been productive?
Well, yeah, we had similar to what you had in the very beginning of the pandemic. We had a pretty big lockdown.
Yeah.
And yeah, so during that time, it's tough because what I do when I make videos and things for Postmodern Jukebox, we get people together in one big room and we all, play together to make these videos. So obviously we weren't able to do that. We've just, now things are doing a little bit better here in the States. So we just reopened the studio. So we're about to actually get to work. And that's pretty exciting. But yeah, this past year, it was like, well, we can't really record. We can't go on tour. So I just kind of kept myself busy recording a lot of piano, like solo piano stuff, going back to my roots.
Oh, fantastic.
And yeah, so, it worked out. But we are so beyond excited to, get the band back, making some videos, going on tour again.
Oh yeah, we can't wait to see you down here in New Zealand. So you're coming. I believe you're scheduled to be here in January of next year.
I think it's March. I think March of
next year,
2022.
I beg your pardon. And you're doing by overseas band standards, you're doing a fairly extensive tour.
Yeah. So to take you back, right before the pandemic hit, we had a huge world tour lined up, and it was going to be our welcome to the 20s tour, as we welcome people to the new decade. And the whole thing was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. This decade's going to be amazing. We're going to have so much live shows, and we were selling out shows, and everything was great. And then about 7 shows in, we had to pull the cast off the road because the pandemic hit. So we're like, so much for the 20s, It's not even, I guess we got that part wrong. But that said, you look at history, right before the Roaring 20s happened, there was a major pandemic in 1918. And the Roaring 20s happened because people were tired of being at home. They were ready to go out and party and celebrate and hear live music again. And I think we're going to see the same thing happen, this next coming year.
Brilliant. So you guys are absolutely the zeitgeist, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. We'll see.
But I'm just looking at the dates that you guys have got scheduled, and I mean at the moment you've got 5 dates. You're starting off in Auckland, and you're finishing in Tauranga. Nobody plays Tauranga. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, we've tried to make it to, our goal is really to bring this show around to every city of the world. We found that it works everywhere. That everywhere people love, people react to incredible talent and just classic timeless music, those kind of sounds. Now the added thing with us is we're not just playing the classics, we're taking new songs back in time to those classic eras. And that allows us really to play anywhere. So we've played every single continent except for Antarctica as of now.
Give it time.
Maybe someday. Yeah, give it time.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Now you mentioned incredible music and incredible talent, so we're going to interrogate that a bit further.
Sure.
Let's talk about the incredible music. What's going to be on your set list, or is that going to be a big spoiler?
Well, we kind of, so there's a couple considerations. First of all, we want to have a set list that encompasses all kinds of different styles. And, the whole idea is we're taking the biggest hits of the last 30 years, from the 80s to maybe the 2000s, sometimes even some recent hits. And we're taking them back in time where music existed on vinyl. So thinking of the era of the swing era, you think of Frank Sinatra, you think of doo-wop, you think of the Platters, you think of Motown, you think of Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, and you think of Jackie Wilson. So we want to celebrate all these classic styles, and then in terms of the set list, we pick some songs that are big songs that everybody knows from the 80s. We might pick some songs that are lesser known, grunge hits from the 90s, or we might throw some some recent hits, something like Old Town Road, so it's really, there's literally something for everybody. And the cool thing is, even if you don't know our videos, you don't know about Postmodern Jukebox, you can show up to the show and you'll know the songs just because there's some major songs that we're covering.
Brilliant. Now, you have actually slightly preempted a little toss-away comment I was going to ask. I was going to suggest, is there anything off off limits to you guys? I was going to ask, oh, can we expect to see like a cover of "Smells Like Teen Spirit"? But it sounds like you just gave that one up.
We've actually done that one. We've done it. Yeah, we did it with Allison Porter, who was the winner of the U.S. The Voice in the U.S. Yeah. And yeah, we did a kind of a 60s kind of an orchestral thing with it. So yeah, we took that one back in time. So yeah, nothing is really off limits. I'd say that the bigger the contrast, the better. You know, it's more interesting. We take these songs, especially songs that maybe are primarily electronic, and then we're playing them with like, you know, classic old instruments and, you know, in an older style, and they can be very interesting.
Yeah, that could be cool. So can we expect to see like a swing era version of Enter Sandman or Killing in the Name of or something maybe? Or is that
Let's see. I don't think we've done either of those yet, but you never know. But I use one example. You know, the idea is when we're transferring a song to a new style, you know, we kind of keep in mind like, well, how would this song actually sound if it was written back then? So, you know, I like to use the example of "Sweet Child of Mine." You look at the lyrics of it and you realize it's a blues song. Yes. So we actually interpreted. We worked with an amazing singer named Mickey Braden, who does like this spot on Bessie Smith type of classic blues jazz from the 20s, and we did a New Orleans version of it. So, you know, it changes the whole character of the song, but it retains the DNA of the song, if that makes sense.
Right. So you're looking for the author's intent, are you?
Yeah, we're looking for just interesting juxtapositions, and, you know, just thinking about, well, what would this song sound like if it was written back then, and and also who would sing it.
Right. Yes, that's fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you're doing an awful lot of other people's work. Have you considered maybe one day doing an album of originals?
Well, you know, I think that this is definitely possible. We haven't yet. You know, honestly, this format has kept me so busy. It's surprising to me, actually. You know, I've been doing this. I think we made our first video in 2010. Right. We went on tour for the first time in 2014, and I haven't gotten tired of either. You know, it's been so much fun just creating this, building out this universe, this alternate universe of all these songs. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, geez, I forgot what the question was. But
original material.
Original material. Well, yeah. I mean, that could come at some point, but I think right now, I mean, there's so much left to explore because there's always, you know, new singers, that are talented singers that inspire you to create a new arrangement to fit their voice, and there's also always new songs that kind of inspire you to draw parallels to songs that were written many years ago. And, you know, there's literally always something new to create in this kind of format.
Right. Has there ever been anything that you actually couldn't tackle? Anything that's just said, no, we just can't figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's certainly some songs that either, you know, they might not be interesting because they might already be covered in a classic style. I mean, you think of like Amy Winehouse, you know, those recordings that she made, they already have a classic sound to them. So it's kind of hard to take them. It's like they're already in that kind of Motown-y kind of realm. Right. It's kind of hard to take that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So, and the same reason we don't typically cover the actual classics, you know, like actual jazz standards and stuff, because they're already in that world.
No, that does make sense. So we've talked about the amazing songs. You also mentioned amazing talent. So who can we expect to see? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be simply Scott on stage. You've got an enormous cast.
So the way that the shows work, you know, we put together a cast, you know, usually a dozen performers, and these are just world-class musicians and vocalists and dancers too. We have amazing tap dancers and things that kind of add a whole new element to the show. And the goal is to really have something for every style represented. So we'll have, you know, all kinds of talent, you know, from great soul singers to great jazz singers to, you know, sometimes specialty acts, variety acts. I mean, sometimes we had like performers like Gunhild Carling, you know, she's a Swedish jazz star that she plays like 40 different instruments and insanely well. Like it's quite a thing. Yeah. So we build casts and, you know, it's out of a rotating cast of about over 100 performers at this point that we bring, you know, to different shows around the world. So we'll put together, you know, a dozen of these performers, and then, you know, I'll direct a show. Basically, we create the show, and you know, we have a creative team that will, you know, build the show utilizing this specific cast and, you know, all their individual talents. And you know, that way it's always a different show, you know. So if you've seen our show, you know, last year, you can go every year and you're going to see a completely different show, but you're going to receive the same feeling, the same, you know, inspiring feeling of watching amazing performers bring this universe to life. you know,
Right.
just
And
with
and this
different
show, I believe
songs.
you call it, is it the Grand Reopening, which is a fantastic name
Yeah,
for this time of
yeah,
year.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's what this time is, right? This is the grand reopening. We're all, you know, the music industry in general, the touring industry is starting back up again. And, you know, this is really the start of the Roaring Twenties. I think that maybe we
Yes.
had to go through this time to realize that, you know, okay, this now we can enter this Roaring Twenties.
Right. And obviously we're assuming that New Zealand will let you in.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we're gonna always keep up to date on all that stuff. But you know, I think that people are very. It seems to be the general consensus is that, you know, March of next year we're gonna see some, you know, some of those travel restrictions lifted and things like that.
Yes, it's been an odd couple of years down here. We're
Yeah.
opened up locally, and we keep
Hmm.
seeing bands having to push their dates back. But I
Mm.
think our first big one, Guns N' Roses, are preceding you
Oh, is that right?
in
Okay.
November. They've booked for November.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So then, I mean, that's soon. That's in the fall.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we're counting the dates for that
yeah,
one. But then you're the
yeah.
next guys to come down, I believe.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on, you know, how that works with Guns N' Roses, and
Yeah,
you know, for sure. And you know, we're gonna definitely keep up to date on everything. It's a, you know, it's something where it changes, obviously,
yeah.
you know, month to month and everything. But you know, we're pretty hopeful that you know, that this will work out, because you know, we love it in New Zealand. We love just the people there, the amazing audiences, and
Yeah,
you know, and I think it's gonna be just a celebration.
bands often seem to find like sort of like one country where they particularly
Mm.
they resonate. What do you think's made it in New Zealand for you guys? Why you? Why here? Any thoughts?
It seems to me that New Zealand in general, they're really music fans. There's some
Yes.
really diehard music fans that just, you know, I don't know if maybe it's record collectors, or maybe
Yeah.
it's just a culture of, you know, knowing a lot of these old styles
Right.
and everything and the history. But yeah, there's just a great appreciation for what PMJ does, which it's just awesome. I think it's such a cool thing, and I think that New Zealand's I guess it's an interesting place. You know, you have a smaller country with all this natural beauty, and you know, and it's an island, so it's got its own thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very interesting touring in New Zealand, and yeah, we love the audiences there.
You gonna get a chance to see much of the country while you're down here?
Well, hopefully. I mean, we always get the cast always gets to see quite a bit of, you know, as they go from time to time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to see in New Zealand for
Yeah.
sure. It's a beautiful place. It's just, yeah, it's like, yeah, like no other place on earth.
Yeah, we're very proud of it down here. Yeah, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
now I am going to pin you down a little bit here because I asked about your set list and you talked about
Mhm.
various vague ideas and you didn't mention a single song. Are we keeping this
Well,
kind of
that's true.
was
Yeah,
that
well, I
intentional?
mean, it's to yeah, well, I mean, you know, the show gets built. Um, you know, we keep things as fresh as possible. We don't even decide on that set list until we're getting into the rehearsal process.
Right.
So we yeah. I mean, there are some. If you watch our videos and you know some of the classic PMJ ones, like
Yeah.
we have our hits, right? We have
Right.
some songs that just have, you know, 100 million views or whatever it is, you know, something crazy. You know, so you can usually reasonably we do place a lot of the hits.
Yeah.
So if that's a hint for people, but you know, we always love surprising people. We put
Yep.
some surprises in there, and also, yeah, I mean, different performers will kind of dictate the set list, because if you have a performer that excels at this one song and they do something really cool and they're
Yeah.
known for that, you know, that's always going to be in the set list.
That does make sense. Now, I'm going to guess. I'm not a gambling man, but I'm going to have a guess that given recent events, I'll be there for you has got to figure on the set list at the moment.
Which one?
I'll be there for you.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that was
I mean,
that's
how did they
that.
not
I
use you
mean,
guys for the reunion? Seriously, they must have tricked them.
well, we had our own reunion. It was the Rembrandts and PMJ.
Yeah.
That was one of the most fun we've ever had at a video shoot. That was also one of the most challenging video shoots we've ever done.
And why is that?
And so, you know, for those that haven't seen this particular video, we took the Friends theme song
Yeah.
and we decided to not just cover it in one style from the past, but actually go through the decades. So every maybe 16 bars, you were in a different decade. So we started with this, you know, 1920s kind of Gatsby, great Gatsby jazz era, going into the swing era, going into covering some doo-wop, covering the Beatles, we did a whole Queen thing in the bridge, you
Yeah.
know, where we did a Freddie Mercury thing. And then by the time that we got to the 90s, the Rembrandts, who were the original performers of the
Yeah.
song, came out and gave us like the 90s, like the classic
Yeah.
90s version of the song. Well, the song, how it goes. And yeah, so that was a pretty magical thing. And we realized later that, whoa, this is like a perfect representation of what our show is. You
Right.
know, we're taking the audience through all these different decades with a well-known song, you know, of today. And yeah, that was one that we completed it just before things got dicey, you know, before the pandemic hit here in America. So we were pretty fortunate that we got that done, you know, ahead of time. But there was a lot of moving parts. There was, I
Right.
mean, we had dancers, we had all these amazing singers and instrumentalists, and you know, as you would expect. And yeah, that was just a blast to create. And yeah, like I said, that's pretty much what we do on stage.
And it's a perfect little 5-minute encapsulation of the entire band, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a whole representation of the postmodern jukebox universe, as we like to call it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So we're going to see you down here in Auckland, like we said, early next year. We've got 5
Yeah.
dates coming up. We're looking at Auckland, Dunedin, Christchurch, Wellington, and indeed Tauranga, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for taking some time to tell us about what's coming up next year, Scott. Really appreciate you taking
Absolutely.
the time to talk to us. Thank you very much.
Likewise, yeah. Well, have a great day, okay? And we're looking
Cheers, mate.
forward to, yeah, I'll see you.
Thanks very much. Bye now.
All right, bye.